Welcome to Yaka Digital Network. If you've ever traveled along a major highway in East Africa, you've probably seen this, a massive, heavy truck kicking up a cloud of dust as it grinds along a crowded road. Right now, trade routes like the Northern Corridor depend heavily on trucks like this one. Moving all our imported goods one container at a time over land is incredibly slow and expensive. That method burns massive amounts of diesel fuel. All that heavy weight grinding down the asphalt constantly damages the roads, and the sheer number of trucks creates heavy traffic jams that slow down everyone else. It also makes the entire supply chain fragile. If just one of those huge trucks breaks down in a narrow pass, the whole trade route can come to a complete stop. Imagine a different kind of highway, a massive, high-capacity route that never experiences a traditional traffic jam, where thousands of tons of cargo glide by effortlessly. For an economy to grow and handle massive amounts of trade, it has to break free from relying on a single road system. It needs to find alternative highways. This map shows the Rhine River. Stretching from the port of Rotterdam into Germany's Ruhr industrial area, this river is the region's economic backbone. Planners call this a navigable waterway. The river is heavily managed with dams and dredgers, ensuring the water stays deep enough for massive ships all year. Because the water is always deep and reliable, Europe can use the main workhorse of the river system, the flat-bottomed cargo barge. The efficiency here is massive. A single one of these river barges can carry the exact same amount of heavy cargo as 150 semi-trucks. Moving materials on water costs a fraction of what it costs on land. Factories that make heavy things, like steel or chemicals, are built right along the river to take advantage of these incredibly low transport costs. The Rhine succeeds because it uses intermodal transport. This is a method where a single box of goods is passed like a baton in a relay race. The cargo moves from water to rail to road without anyone ever having to unpack the items inside. The relay race begins at the deep-sea port. Massive ocean ships drop off thousands of containers at these coastal facilities to begin their journey inland. From there, specialized equipment does the heavy lifting. Huge cranes grab the containers off the ships and drop them directly onto awaiting freight trains. The train takes over as the high-speed runner. On electrified tracks, the railway network distributes goods quickly to distribution centers across the continent. Because these three systems are linked, there are always backup routes. If a major highway gets blocked by traffic, planners can simply leave the containers on a train or load them onto a river barge instead. By designing water, rail, and road to act together as one connected living organism, Europe ensures its supply chain rarely stops moving. When we bring this idea back to the African context, we see two very different approaches to moving goods. This table compares the two regions. The Rhine system relies heavily on water, seamlessly linking boats, trains, and trucks. Meanwhile, African routes like the Northern Corridor are mostly road-led, relying almost completely on isolated truck driving. Now we are looking at a bar chart comparing the costs of moving 1,000 tons of bulk goods. The fuel and financial costs of moving that weight by road are incredibly high, compared to the small fraction it costs to float that same weight on a barge. For African trade to compete globally, planners have to shift their focus. Building isolated roads is not enough. We need to develop integrated transport corridors that combine multiple ways of travel. East Africa actually already has a massive natural waterway that could serve as its own version of the Rhine. Lake Victoria. By building modern port facilities on the lake and connecting those ports to existing railway lines, Uganda could bypass the highways entirely. This would save the roads from destruction and drastically lower the cost of imported goods. Before we finish, let's test what we've covered. Why is a barge more cost-effective than a truck for heavy raw materials? The answer is that a barge uses significantly less fuel per ton of cargo because it floats, and it completely avoids all highway traffic jams. Thank you for learning with Yaka Digital Network. To access more courses and educational materials, visit us online at www.yaka.cc.